then why the deposit money banks and the commercial banks are the conventional banks. So they are the mainstream banks. Yeah. So if microfinance bank has transaction with their mainstream banks, or what we call correspondent banks, so I think it's exempted from the charges.
Exempted. Okay. Bank transfers to CBN and vice versa. Like banks, when they are doing transfers to CBN, they will not be charged.
Yes.
Inter-branch transfers within a bank.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Rumola branch and Rumukuta branch.
Branch will not be charged.
Yes.
Check clearing and settlement. So that means we should go back to check bank days of check. People should be writing checks instead of doing electronic transfers. That's what it means. But does this not defeat the purpose of the whole thing, cashless policy?
Exactly. The digital financial services.
So I should go and look for my checkbook and start doing
Not
checks
really.
again.
Not really. Check transactions have not been completely eliminated.
Yeah.
So yes, some persons still use checks. So that's
Okay.
what they are saying.
All right. So check clearing and check settlement, guys. Note that. So maybe you should stop the whole e-transfer thing and go for more checks. Anyways, letters of credit, banks, recapitalization, all the English that we do not even care. Anyway, savings and deposits, including transactions involving long-term investments, treasury bills, bonds, and commercial papers, government social welfare programs. So if you're taking all the pension payment, NGO and charitable transactions, donations from registered non-profit organizations or charities, a lot of that would not be also exempted. Education institutions transactions. So if you're paying your school fees, is exempted. If you're paying for university as well, is also exempted. Transactions involving banks, internal accounts. I think a lot. The exemptions are like 16, and that's a lot. And so a lot of people are going to fall under it, and then the weight that we are all worried about may fall on Nigerians may not really be much. What do you think?
Yes, I think so. So we don't have much to worry about because we've got a lot of incentives in the transactions.
But then, while we agree that cyber attacks are a problem, cyber attacks should be looked at, cyber attacks should be tackled. We've also seen in the past that some of these funds, no one accounts for it. No one tells you what happens next. Okay, so we're definitely going to keep our eye on the fund where they said the NSA, that's this money that's been contributed and where it's going to put. We're going to keep an eye and see where exactly it goes next. Now let's look at the second story, talking about manufacturers. Several times on the show we've talked about manufacturers and their plight. What's their plight? The inflation and how it's dealing with them. And now we hear that in Q1, this report from Business Day says that the biggest manufacturers in Nigeria incurred losses in the first 3 months of 2024. That's the first quarter of the year. And their borrowing costs went up. And this came on the back of rising interest rates and a further devaluation of the naira. That's data compiled by Business Day. The reality is still so real for manufacturers, I see there. What do you think, Chiemela?
Okay, so for me, manufacturers will incur cost to produce. They add a margin, then they sell. So when they have to borrow, let's look at it. MPR has gone up to 24.75. So what it means that they borrow at high cost. Right?
Yeah.
Look at power. Gone are those days when we used to buy fuel for 165. We are buying close to 1,000, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
So when you incur all of these costs and you produce or you manufacture, right? How much are you going to add? And how much are you going to sell? Don't forget the buyers, the consumers. They're also at the other end, also waiting for you to. You don't need to come harsh on them as well. So I really wonder. I'm not surprised with this story that manufacturers are making loss because, like I mentioned, two things now: cost of borrowing the fund they are using, as well as power. These two parameters will definitely tell us on your selling price. And so don't also forget issues like staffing. Other assets,
operational cost,
generally. So it's bound to be right. Like I said, consumers. How much are consumers willing to pay? How much is in their pocket?
And that's really sad. Anyways, the final story on Market Watch, looking at the CBN's releasing the list of deposit money banks in Nigeria. I was just telling my guests before we came into the studio that we've had so many banks in Nigeria these days. You just look this way, we now have as much as them like churches, Every street almost has one decorated place and is a bank. So what's going on? Names that we cannot even remember or do not know. Anyway, so now the CBN has come up with this updated list, and currently we have 43 deposit money banks in Nigeria. What do you think about that, Dr. Paul?
Okay, that's a welcome development because it is the duty of CBN as a regulatory body to keep the general public informed. Because if we are not informed, we'll be deformed. So that what they have done is quite necessary, and what the banks are categorized. They are, from the list I saw, they are categorized. We have banks that have international license, and that is the big seven, the biggest banks in Nigeria. So what that means is that they can operate in Nigeria and also operate outside Nigeria. And we have banks that have national license. What it means that they will operate only within Nigeria. We have banks that have regional license. They will operate within regions. And we have about 6 regions in Nigeria, or 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So at independence, we used to have 3 regions. Later, we now have 6 regions. So banks that can operate within regions. We also have merchant banks, and we have
the rest of them. Anyways, if you want to see the list of these banks, just go to the CBN website. I think it should be there. I think I'll also see if I can put up one on my Facebook page, just so that people will know which bank is what. And that's a very interesting one. And that's a wrap for Market Watch. Now let's get into Insider Tips. I want to thank my guests for doing Market Watch with me. As we get into Insider Tips, the Oga Pata Pata of them, or aka Elephant in the Room, where we'll be looking at how we can, whether or not the rebranding of whether we should be rebranding the microfinance bank in Nigeria. Insider Tips now, and I still have my guest in the studio. The question is, should microfinance banking be rebranded? We're going to go on a quick break in a bit, but first I would just like us to know that we're live on Facebook. And we're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. And you can drop your messages on these platforms. I would like to read them. I'll be reading them after the break, okay? And you can also drop your thoughts on X, that's former Twitter, at Nigeria Info PH as well. The WhatsApp number is also available for you to drop your messages. Yes, shoot me a text at 0809 030 6416. That's the WhatsApp number. I'll be opening the phone lines at some point as well when we get back from the break. But yes, I'll read your messages live, and our guests are still here. The Chairman, National Association of Microfinance Banks, NAMB, South Zone, Dr. Paul Nnaji, and they've done a great work with me on the Market Watch segment. And now we're getting into the Insider Tip segments, looking at the microfinance banking in Nigeria. And then, of course, I had the Secretary, Conference Organizing Committee of the Association, Mr. Chiemela Ubani, as well, doing a great job here as well. And we're going to be back when we get back from that break. We'll look at what's been happening in the microfinance banking world. What should we be taking advantage of? If you're a business owner, or you're an aspiring business owner or aspiring entrepreneur, you should get close. Let someone know and be a part of this. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this time out. Nigeria in for interesting times. We've just set on here looking at the microfinance banking world. I have with me the chairman, National Association of Microfinance Banks, NAMB, South Zone, Dr. Paul Nnaji in the studio, and we're talking rebranding microfinance banking. And I'm asking you now, have you walked into one before? Do you think we should be rebranding? What direction should this rebranding be taken? I would like to know your thoughts. I also have here the Secretary, Conference Organizing Committee of the Association, Mr. Chiemela Ubani. Thank you, gentlemen, for being in the studio with me.
Thank you once more.
All right, so let's get right to it now, shall we? We have you talking bank, and now let's settle into the one you're tough, like they said. What is microfinance banking, and what financial services do microfinance banks render to the public? Dr. Paul.
Yeah, microfinance banking is provision of simple, flexible, and sustainable financial services to the low-income earners and the economically active poor in the society. Such financial services are deposit taking, granting of credit facilities, and such facilities are called microloans or microcredits, and what we call domestic fund transfers and microinsurance. These are what we call microfinance services, and any bank that renders such services is a microfinance bank, and they are licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to render such services.
Now, what let's say now, I'm a vendor, I'm a small business owner. What kind of facility can I get from a microfinance bank? I sell hair, I sell Brazilian and the rest of them. My entire capital is not up to ₦1 million. What kind of?
Yes, we have mentioned that simple and flexible financial services. So it ranges between small amounts to medium to large amount. So it depends on your business. It depends on the size of your business. It depends on your capital. It depends on your strength. So some microfinance banks can give credit as low as 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira. Can also give credit as much as 50 million, 20 million.
Really? Microfinance banks
Yes.
can give up to do 7 zeros? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me actually add to that. So
Yes.
the categories of loans to the business you presented. Stock up loan. You want to stock up. You have an order. Maybe, for example, Nigeria Info has asked you to supply hair and you don't have that cash. Microfinance bank can give you that loan. And like they finance your invoice. Then when you supply, then you pay back. So that means the domiciliation is going to come from the bank. So when the payment comes, it goes to the bank. Then they take theirs and with interest as well. Even working capital. If your business grows to a point where you have staff, even they can also give you loan to
pay staff
while you're waiting for your invoice to be paid by your
clients.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So, but for me, I think you said earlier in this program, you've not worked into any microfinance.
I have not.
So
I'm a salary earner.
That's not a good one at all.
What do salary earners? What can salary earners do?
So where is your salary domicile?
Okay, it's not in a microfinance bank. Can it be in a microfinance bank?
Yes.
Okay, what's the benefit of it being in a microfinance bank?
You can use it to obtain the credit facilities, and that can enable you you can get land, you can build a house, you can get a car, and pay back by time. 2 is 3.
So those ridiculous, what do I call now, criteria, and then we find in the DMEs. Do we find
It's reduced. That's what we say flexibility. Simplicity.
Exactly.
The simplicity, flexibility.
Convenient.
Yes.
So it's an alternative going to commercial bank. That's
Yes.
microfinance bank. So what those hurdles are going to experience there, microfinance will totally remove or reason. Right. So that's how
Let's talk about your association, the National Association of Microfinance. So Paul, I'm asking you about that. Tell me about the association.
Okay, Association Banks. NAMB is apex body of all and 6 microfinance banks in Nigeria. Two regional formed the association in 2009, November 2009 precisely, and the association plays the role of advocacy and networking, capacity development, self-regulation, members' welfare, ethics, and stuff like that. So that is what the association is established for. So all microfinance banks in Nigeria belong to the association mandatorily, and for administrative convenience, we have national chapter of the association, which is headquartered in Abuja, and we have a national president that leads the association. Then each of the geopolitical zones in Nigeria has chapters, which we call the zonal chapters of the NAMB. So ours is a South zone, and we have the South NAMB, and we're also led by a chairman, and that is myself. We have other executive members, and the other 5 zones in Nigeria have their chapters too, and each of the 36 states in Nigeria have also chapters. We have state chapters of NAMB. For instance, in Rivers State, we have a state chapter, and the South is made up of 6 states: Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, Rivers. So each of the states has a chapter of NAMB, and that is how we are structured. And we have a conference that we are putting together that is commencing on the 9th of this month. That is on Thursday. Tomorrow. And it's part of what we have also come here to talk about.
Okay, so you tell me about it, Mr. Chiemela. Tell us about this conference. This is the first time? What's happening? What's the theme? Where is it holding?
All right, so yes, thank you again, Chioma. So this is the maiden microfinance conference for the zone. Okay, so Dr. Paul, just like he said, he's the chairman for the zone. The state had something similar in the past in form of business summit, but we thought this time around, let's do a microfinance conference and for the zone. So this is the first of its kind. And in the course of choosing the team, we thought of what should we look at, and that was what led to the rebranding of microfinance banking. So I'm sure maybe you don't know, but there was a time in this Nigeria that we had the community banks. So the community banks metamorphosed to microfinance
banks. Yeah.
So the whole idea of community bank was that, just like I said, alternative, you couldn't go to commercial bank, you can go to community bank. But due to regulation and for more efficiency and operational wise, it has metamorphosed to microfinance bank. So we now have more than 800 microfinance bank licenses
in Nigeria.
Yeah, in the zone alone, we have 67, right? So
I see them mostly in rural areas. Yeah,
exactly. But now they are beginning to do big things, right? So we have the likes of his bank, UNC, you have others, my own bank also coming on board. So now you see microfinance bank even do things that commercial bank do. When he mentioned loan of 50 million, it's not fictitious. That's real, right? So we've been able to. So that conference is holding here in Port Harcourt, starting tomorrow, like he said. So the theme is Rebranding Microfinance Bank, leveraging technology to accelerate and growth of microfinance banks. Right? So we put together a big shot in microfinance bank. I'm sure you do hear about Lapo, or you do see Lapo.
Yes.
So Lapo will say is the
biggest.
Yes, biggest, and that's where microfinance banking started in Nigeria. So Dr. Godwin Ehigiamuse, who is the founder of Lapo, will be in Port Harcourt live starting from tomorrow. He's coming into tomorrow. I'm sure you also know about Axion. So MD of Axion, Taiwo Joda, is also coming to town. In fact, he's the one we talked about earlier. So he's coming to town, national president. So we put together thought leaders, stakeholders. The whole essence is just to sit down. Let's look at, can we rebrand microfinance bank? And it's doable. So the fintech has taught us that it's possible, right? And if there was no opportunity that presented itself, the COVID-19 presented itself, where we saw that most financial institutions were grounded. But those that were operating digitally, they were able to laugh. They smile to the bank. Right? So, like I said, the fintech has made it possible where right here I can open an account, do a transaction, borrow money, save money, invest money without going to
stepping out. Yes.
Stepping exactly. And so some microfinance banks are also taking that boot step. The likes of Money Point, OPay, they are all microfinance banks. Maybe you might not know. They are licensed by CBN. So that's what we are saying. So those of us in South, we also thought of it's doable, and let's encourage our members. So members of the association, member banks, right? They are coming starting from tomorrow. At Sweet Spirit, we are going to be there discussing on what are the challenges.
You didn't tell us what Sweet Spirit is. That's the venue, right?
Hotel.
Yes.
Okay.
Sweet Spirit Hotel.
Where is that?
Stadium Road.
Okay.
That's where the event is taking place.
Okay, Sweet Spirit Hotel at Stadium Road.
Yes. So, like I said,
is it for one day?
Day one, Friday, tomorrow is arrival date, 9th. So day one, we have our road walk on Friday morning. We're going to have a road walk from Ubani Park down to Government House. You see professionals march down to Government House just to also align with government ideas or projects in supporting microfinance bank. Like example, like in River State, the state governor gave
small funds, business owners,
which they are assessing through RIMA, River State Microfinance Agency. Right. So we also then in the evening on that same Friday, we are going to be having a social connect at Pleasure Park, where we just go, see the city and know what's happening in Port Harcourt. Then the main day is on Saturday, and that's the main conference. Where we have all these professionals come to tell us about how to navigate, how to how to go about the rebranding
and the direction the direction exactly to take.
We're going to have our dinner. That's on Saturday.
The gala night and the awards.
Yeah.
Awards, interesting. Now, what should we have? It's not just for members, right? Everyone is invited.
Yes, the general public is invited. In fact, we are using this opportunity to,
officially invite everyone.
Yes, everybody to be part of the event. I tell you what, microfinance and microfinance banking is not just for a few. It's for all of us in one word or other, directly or indirectly. The woman is selling vegetables in the market. The woman is selling market. Is anybody that buy vegetables in buy palm? So microfinance banks provide services of this category of micro operate and involved. So conference is aimed at deepening the banking region and in the country by extension. So we are keen or retain that everybody that has the opportunity, that has the reason in the discourse.
Now, let's look at the fintech, how it plays in drinking microfinance bank. We're going to be about Dr. Paul now. When it comes to tech, and the people you just mentioned, some of them don't have smartphones. How does it work? How direction should this be taken?
Okay, fintech, yes, actually, it has become a new normal that is using computer programs and technology to run financial services, to run banking and financial services. Yeah, you need smartphone, you need smart devices for you to be able to utilize the fintech, what financial technology is all about. Yes, it's just coming, it's evolving, and when we are talking about it and when we hold conference about it and encourage people to embrace it, what it means is that it will be expanding. Those who don't have smartphone before now, it will encourage them to see how to have smartphones. And again, it's not all financial transactions that are done through smart arrangement. There are still some that you can do even without smartphone, like the
USSD.
Yes, USSD code transactions and stuff like that. But the truth is that the way to go is using fintech, and fintech will surely accelerate the growth of microfinance sector. Many people are not quite aware of the sector, and it makes a lot of people not to know what we are doing in the sector. And we are here talking about it, and that is what the rebranding is all about, to change people's perspective about microfinance bank, to make people raise their confidence about microfinance banks and understand really what it means. It's not only about giving loans. A lot of people just, once you mention microfinance, is loan. No, there are licensed banks that take deposits and do fund transfers. They carry out fund transfer, domestic fund transfers, and they take deposit, savings accounts, current accounts, fixed deposit accounts.
Interesting. Learning this is really going to change a lot of things. But then you mentioned something earlier, that the community banks are actually the ones that were rebranded and then became microfinance banks. And how come out of 800 microfinance banks in Nigeria, we have 67 banks? why are we going to see more and more of these banks getting
67 is in South region.
South
Yes.
region. I think it's small now. We have 6 states. Yeah. Okay, I was hoping I would hear like 100. That means many more communities do not have banks yet.
Yes,
of course.
Many more is coming. Like my own bank, a brand new microfinance bank, we're launching next
month.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
But in an environment where there have not been any.
How easy it is? How easy is it to set up a microfinance bank in Nigeria?
It's not easy. It has to go through a process.
An arm and a leg.
Yeah, applying to CBN for a license. CBN will come for verification, then eventually come for inspection. Setting up the board, bringing the fund, verify where the fund is coming from, just to be sure that it's not laundered money, right?
Yes.
And eventually you get the license. Then after getting the license, you apply to CBN again that you want to launch out. Then you launch out. Then if you want to play digitally like we want to do, you go through the hurdle of onboarding on NIBs, InterSwitch, all of them like that. Yeah. So
for communities now, if communities would want to come together to establish, let's say, to have a bank in their communities, what process should that follow? What is it the same process you just explained?
So the thing is, you might not have microfinance bank everywhere, but you can have microfinance bank service everywhere. So for example,
that's what the fintech thing does.
Yes. There's what we call agency banking. They are called merchant driving, where in my village, all I need to do to onboard a pharmacy. Right, on board an artisan, right? Maybe a spare part dealer in my village, right? I put him on digital space. He will open an account, save money for people. People can borrow right there while I'm operating here in River State.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's how it works, and that's basically what we are talking about. So when you talk about fintech, it's huge. Like I said, and he mentioned it. So most people think until you have internet. Not only when you have internet, ordinary USSD. So it's about mindset, and that's what we are just trying to do. So everyone has a role to play. We, the operator, the customer as well, and that's why we are taking this opportunity to sensitize, right? And we are extending this to the microfinance banks, the microfinance institutions, other financial institutions, right? Even you're meant to be in that program because, just like you said, you've not been able to walk into any microfinance bank. You've not even, perhaps this is the first time you are checking what's all about microfinance. So you're going to gain a lot. I've also heard you say perhaps you want to someday open yours. People can come together to own a microfinance bank. You don't want to. You can invest in existing microfinance banks.
Awesome. And okay, let's open the phone lines now. I have so many questions are already coming in from on WhatsApp. They have questions for you. And yes, you can call 0817-923-0002. You can also call 0817-923-0003. We're talking rebranding microfinance banking in Nigeria. There's a conference coming up. The what do I call them now? The players in the microfinance banking industry are coming together. They are bringing the big names in the industry, and they are there's in this zone in the Niger Delta zone and South precisely South zone. The conference is holding here in Port Harcourt on Friday, right? And Friday, Saturday, and a lot of the conversations that we've already started here on air is going to be expanded even more on when that program comes on. But I'd like to hear what you have. If you have questions for the guests, I have the chairman of the Association of bankers, microfinance bankers in Nigeria. I have him right here in the studio with the conference organizing committee, the secretary precisely, and they are ready to answer your questions when it comes to microfinance banks. Yes, you can call 0817-923-0007. You can also call 0817-923-0009. Yes, the WhatsApp number 0809-030-6416. I'll take that again. 0809-030-6416. That's the WhatsApp number, and I begin with the WhatsApp messages that have come in here. I have one here from Livinus Njoko. He's calling in from Eche, and his question is, what are the microfinance banks doing to make banking accessible to the rural dwellers? I already asked something like this. I said areas like Iweche, Ozuzu, Eberi need banks in Eche, please. Eche people are already calling out.
Okay, thank you, Livinus. And it's part of what we are saying. The conference is for those kind of discussions. We want to engage as many stakeholders as we could have. And the more you have more persons participating, you have more investors, and you have the capital, you have the resources, then you can be able to expand, you can be able to have more branches. Because microfinance banks are categorized. We have national microfinance banks, we have state microfinance banks, we have unit tier 1 microfinance bank, we have unit tier 2 microfinance banks. So the way commercial banks are categorized, that is how microfinance banks are also categorized.
How will you know which is what?
Well, it is not going to be written on the signage that this is national or whatever, but national are those that are licensed to have national spread.
Okay.
And state are those that are licensed to only operate within a state, a geographical state. And then unit tier 1 are licensed to operate, I think, in 3 or 4, 5 local governments in a state. So what he has said, I want to also tell him that my bank has brought an office in Okehi, and they also intend to get to Eberi and the other parts of Eche as time goes on. But we have started with Okehi, so he can in turn patronize the bank in Okehi and also encourage others to patronize that bank. That is how that is how the expansion can be achieved. That is how the growth and the development can be achieved. The name of the bank is UNC Microfinance Bank. It has
another advert. Anyways, apart from that, I think being a part of that conference is very important for someone like this, for someone like Livingston Njoku, who is really interested in seeing how that can happen. All of the stakeholders are going to be there. All of the players are going to be there. So you come and perhaps one of the breakout sessions, you can have conversations. You never know who has some money lying around.
Of course.
I'll be willing to do something like that. So yes, we have another one here. He's asking about the online banks that's been suspended from having new customers. I don't know if you remember the federal government and CBN policy that said he's asking if they can now go ahead and open accounts on OPay Money Point. I don't think they can, right?
So,
the suspension is still on.
Been lifted, yes,
okay. And then we have another one. It says, "Good afternoon, Chioma. Please let them come and set the bank at Umuebule. We don't have a single bank there." I think it's this from Don Dada from Umuebule. He's in Umuebule and he says there's no single bank. And like you said earlier, you do not need to set up a bank there.
Yes, but there's one very close to Umuebule, Blueprint at former toll gate along Obibo.
Okay.
Yes, Blueprint is there, so he can assess that as well.
Interesting. Now let's look at this when it comes to credit risk. These are often the bane of financial institutions. Can fintech help microfinance banks assess and manage credit risks more accurately? We're going to answer this, but first let's take a call and then I'll come to you. I'll start with you, Chiemela, on this. Hello, good afternoon. Oh, the line is, maybe you should call back. Okay, go ahead. No. You have to call me back. Sorry, it's not so clear there. Just call back, okay? 0817-923-0002. You can also call 0817-923-0003. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes. You're on Talking Figures.
My name is I'm calling from Taco.
All right, go on.
About the microfinance, I have not done with them before, but what I heard is very impressive. So I want to know if someone that is doing business can also partake in that microfinance and also collect loans to improve in business.
Okay. Dr. Paul, you're going to answer that, but let me also add this message from Facebook. It's coming from Jafet Chidi Bekwe. He says, "I especially greet the guest in the house, Dr. Paul Nnaji and his co-guest. Rebranding microfinance banking in Nigeria is a welcome call. Reasons being that microfinance banks seems to be grassroots banks because of its accessibility and flexibility. Like UNC Microfinance Bank, which is located inside Uniport campus, the bank have uplifted many individuals through credit facilities. I pray the federal government will rebrand the microfinance banks to more high standard." That's Jafet Chidi Ibekwe there. Thank you for your message. Now, let's come to this question from the caller. I'm asking about his business and how he can take advantage.
Yeah, microfinance banks are for all categories of business: micro business, small business, medium business, mega business. Any type of business you are doing, yes, microfinance banks are there for you. Depending on your location, we'll have them spread out in River State. We'll have some in the rural areas. We'll have quite a handful of them in the city of Port Harcourt. So I don't know the type of business he's doing. Yes, microfinance banks are for him. He can save his business takings in the microfinance banks. He can save money there. He can collect credit facilities.
Okay.
He can make fund transfers.
All right.
That's
now,
the answer.
Let's see if this can be the final call on the show. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Talking Figures.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Chiemela.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Nnaji.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I want to ask one or two questions and then make a comment.
Okay, please keep it
on
brief.
Your fintech banking system, are you aware that most of the fintech operators are using the system to defraud? For example, you could download any of the apps, and after some time, maybe they ask you for information about yourself, and you are able to supply your personal information, assuming in most cases you don't even take the fund that's given to you. You find out after that you are being debited, and people actually call you to pay and force you to pay. That's
okay,
one.
Because of time, let's allow him to answer the first part of what you've answered. Perhaps if you come on the conference on that day, more conversations will go on. But let's allow him to answer the one you just asked because of time.
Let me leave that out. Let me leave that out.
There's no time. That's what I'm saying. Let him respond to what you've raised.
The details,
the stories,
with the updates.
Your number one station for talk.
And I know these small banks and people, that's actually one of some people's concern.
Okay, my advice is anybody that want to subscribe to services of financial institutions, try to subscribe to the ones that are legitimate and regulated. Don't go for those that maybe you see on the internet, social media, and you follow them. So the well-established, well-regulated banks, commercial banks, microfinance banks, they are there. When you ask questions, you will know. And talking about fraud or cyber attacks, yes, it is something that is happening on a daily basis. But what we are also doing is that we are always putting measures in place to ensure that customers are protected, and that is why CBN is coming with the regulations on cyber security. And in fact, the first thing we discussed was about deductions on a cyber security levy. All that are aimed at protecting customers. So the fund that will be generated from that deductions will be used to put measures in place.
And more of this is going to be on that conference. Tell us more about the conference. How do we need to register?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us more about it as we wrap up.
Attendance. We also have virtual participation as well.
Virtual? Where?
Yeah. So maybe after this program, I'll share the flyer with you, so you can register to come to Sweet Spirit Hotel, or you can also subscribe to join virtually. So a link will be given to the person, and the person can join from wherever he or she is.
Okay. When again? Where? Time?
Okay. The conference is starting tomorrow. Day 1 is on Friday. Day 2 on Saturday. Swiss Spirit Hotel, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt. Yes. Okay.
Okay. So, any numbers to call for more information?
08037699940. Again, 08037699940. All right. So, and that's it. So, for the conference fee, 60,000 naira per delegate, and if you're able to come up with up to 5 delegates, it drops down to 50,000 naira. That means 50,000 naira when it gets to 50. But for virtual participation, 30,000 naira. Or you can also walk down to Swiss Spirit Hotel here in Port Harcourt along Stadium Road. You can register even in person. It promises to be great. Like I said, we are bringing top leaders in microfinance. Again, Dr. Godwin Ehiga would say of the founder of Lapo will be here live in Port Harcourt. Mr. Taiwo Joda, the MD of Axiom Microfinance Bank, will also be here.
And the national president of NAMB, yes, Joshua Okute,
will also be here.
And I'll be there as well. You've just invited me as the host of Talking Figures. I'll be there as well to learn more about. We'll see about that. Okay, thank you so much, Chairman, National Association of Microfinance Banks, NAMB South Zone, Dr. Paul Nnaji. Thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you
of
very
course,
much.
the Secretary Conference Organizing Committee, Mr. Chiemela Ubani. Thank you as well for being here. I see you're cooking really something interesting. I'll be there to check it out. All right.
We'll be delighted to have you.
And that's Talking Figures for today. Yes, see you again next week. Time is still 2 p.m. Until then, Kalada will be here. But first, the news, and after that, Hard Facts with Kalada. Stay tuned.